Students, welcome to lecture 24 in biopharmaceutics and pharmacokinetics. And today we are going to start a new chapter, and that is pharmacokinetics of intravenous infusions. And today we are going to discuss about intravenous infusions. What are intravenous infusions, their advantages, disadvantages, and their kinetics. Introduction to the pharmacokinetics of intravenous infusions. Outline for today's lecture. First of all, the introduction to intravenous or IV infusions, then factors for using IV infusions instead of conventional dosage forms like IV bolus or the oral route. Then we'll discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of intravenous infusions. Then steady state level that is achieved after the continuous administration of intravenous infusions. Then orders of pharmacokinetics of intravenous infusions, input and output. So what are intravenous infusions? First of all, let's discuss it. So intravenous is the term means into the vein, and you know very well that it is not only the intravenous infusion which is being administered into the vein, but it is also intravenous bolus administration as well. Intravenous infusion is the slow drip of medication into the vein over a set period of time to deliver a constant therapy. While on the other hand, as I just mentioned, that intravenous drug solution may be given either as a bolus dose, injected all at once, or infused slowly through a vein into the plasma at a constant or zero order rate. So basically, if we took the term intravenous, so any administration which is through intravenous route, it would definitely mean that directly into the vein. The only difference would be, if any, is that it is at what rate it is being administered. It is being administered at once in larger quantities, or it is being administered slowly at a slow and gradual rate in lesser quantities, in quite lesser quantities as compared to the intravenous bolus dose. So whenever the intravenous drug solution is administered at or injected all at once, then it would be called intravenous bolus dose. While as compared to that, when we come to the intravenous infusion, so in that case, what happens that it is a slow drip of medication into the vein. It is being slowly and gradually administered at a certain rate and in a certain lesser quantity. And another special thing about it is also that it is being administered, or the rate of input is zero, following the zero order rate. Now, whenever we say that the rate of reaction is, or rate of any process like rate of absorption, elimination, distribution, whatever process is in the question and we are talking about. So if it is following zero order rate, what does it mean? That rate of the reaction or rate of that process is independent of drug's concentration. So, what are the factors for using intravenous infusions when there are many other conventional routes of administration and even intravenous bolus is available? So, the quantities administered by intravenous infusions are quite larger, so its rapid administration may increase the volume of the blood. This could lead to a condition called hypervolemia, the main reason why slow administration and so intravenous infusions are chosen. So basically intravenous infusion is different from intravenous bolus in a way that intravenous bolus is administering or providing a certain amount of drug all at once immediately, while in case of intravenous infusion we can see that the quantities provided are very high, very larger, and larger than usual. And if this much quantity is being provided by intravenous infusion, so rapidly. So what could result out of that is that there would be a buildup of the volume of the blood, and there would be a sudden increase in the volume of the blood. And this is a condition, this is a well-known condition which is called hypervolemia. The main reason why slow administration and so intravenous infusion are chosen, that here it is the main reason that you cannot choose or cannot opt for the intravenous bolus any further, because how you could administer so much quantities by injections, by frequent injections, um, being administered all at once, because it would be causing the hypervolemia and the patient condition could get worsened. The main impact of the hypervolemia would be on the arteries, veins, and on the heart, and it would not be manageable for the heart of the patient to manage so much amount of amount of volume which is being entered into the body all at once and so immediately. Slow intravenous infusion also helps to minimize certain side effects due to rapid drug administration. For example, intravenous immune globulin may cause a rapid fall in blood pressure when infused rapidly. So another reason for the slow administration, for choosing or opting for the slow administration, means the intravenous infusions, because in this way, by slow administration in the form of intravenous infusions, uh, as the quantities are entering in very low quantities and are being used also, a sufficient proportion is also being used as it is rapidly reaching at the site of action. So what happens that undesirable effects which are bound to happen because of the excess amount of available drug concentrations. So first of all, those are easily avoidable. Secondly, if for example the patient starts to experience the side effects, it is very easy to cut off the concentration and stop the intravenous infusion administration at any time point. And so intravenous infusion is a very suitable and feasible process as well, route of administration as well in those situations. So another example is the rate of infusion of antiarrhythmic drugs, which should be particularly at slower rate. And it is important because if antiarrhythmic medications are being administered at an unusual faster pace, what would happen that there could be a rebound adverse effect which could be witnessed, and basically as their impact is mainly on heart, so you need to be more careful about the concentration of drug reaching at the site of actions. Those should not be reaching too fast or too not in appropriate quantities to produce the desired action. So if lesser concentration in proper quantity so that the desired action is being produced over a prolonged period of time, that is much desirable in certain situations as compared to administration of drug at a faster pace and at once. So here when the intravenous infusions come as a savior, and these are preferred in certain situations, but still uh, despite the fact that intravenous infusion has been administered, but the control of the rate is still extremely important, and that should be managed wisely. Then the drugs following multiple compartment models are particularly important because of possible adverse response due to the initial high drug concentration. For example, if heparin is injected or infused fastly, cardiac arrest may occur. Um, so another case is would be those drugs which usually in their pharmacokinetics follow multiple compartmental models. And multiple compartmental models, as you are aware about pharmacokinetic modeling, is that situation in which a drug um, is highly lipophilic and has the capacity to distribute to far and deeper areas of the body, including brain and peripheral fats tissues, fats, adipose tissues. So if, for example, the drug is being distributed to various compartments to the far and the deeper areas, and especially the multiple compartments, then in that situation, there would be an initial high drug concentration, and that will definitely result in adverse response. So example is heparin. Heparin is injected or infused fastly. Cardiac arrest may occur, and that's why it is very important that heparin is should be administered slowly, gradually, and at a very slow rate through intravenous infusions. Among many other advantages, another advantage which is very important and marked one, and that is rapid administration. Now, you could find this statement contradictory that a few minutes ago we were discussing that it is a slow and steady administration. It is administration of the drug at a sufficiently slower rate, but that was in comparison to intravenous bolus. We were discussing that intravenous bolus is the one in which drug is being administered in very larger quantities all at once. But in case of intravenous infusion, so the quantities are much larger, but the pace or administration is very slow. And this rapid administration is actually its comparison with other route of administration like the oral one. In case of oral, though we witness that the drug has been administered, but actually it takes a long time, much longer time for the drug to get absorbed and then reach into the systemic circulation and to become available at the site of action in the required concentration, which is called minimum effective concentration. So it definitely takes a longer time, and that definitely is not happening in case of intravenous infusion. Drug is directly going into the systemic circulation and directly it is becoming available at the site of action. So that is not a problem. Absorption and all the mid processes which are acting as a barrier before the absorption, those are not involved anyways. So it is again a rapid administration, and that is the main reason that as we had discussed in the previous semester about multiple dosage regimen, that sometimes it is desirable to um, administer the loading dose, the one which is administered before the maintenance doses. That loading dose is administered through intravenous infusion, and that is much desirable as compared to normal maintenance doses or the normal route of administration. Then it helps to bypass the first pass metabolism, as you know. In case of any intravenous administration, this is a major advantage which is involved, and especially the drugs which are extensively metabolized in the liver. For them, it is especially a bonus effect because they bypass the first pass metabolism, which helps them to reach in the desired concentration at the site of action in much shorter time. 100% bioavailability and rapid delivery of the drug to the target site. So these are the main advantages which are associated with intravenous infusions anyway, and that is the main reason. These are various reasons because of which intravenous infusion is quite a popular route of administration or a dosage form. And other very important factor is also that it is a great route for intravenous nutrients therapy, as well as I discussed before that sometimes the patient is not in his conscious state, or the patient is extremely injured and it is impossible for the patient to feed themselves, or they are not in a normal healthy functioning mode. So in that situation too, the nutrients administration, like sometimes the patients could be comatose, and so nutrients administration becomes a challenging task then. So nutrients administration, uh, especially the nutrient therapy, for the nutrients therapy, intravenous route or intravenous infusion route is a preferable and highly desirable one. There are certain disadvantages as well, like it may cause infection at the needle insertion site, and along with that, it has psychological negative influence. Many patients are fearful of all the process of its administration, the cannula and the needle insertion, and when they look at the bags and the drips and all that stuff or devices involved in it, they get fearful, and that definitely could pose a psychological negative influence on the patients who are already suffering. That is the biggest disadvantages which could be witnessed in case of intravenous infusions. And then last but not the least, it should always be supervised, and either by a nurse, a doc physician, or a pharmacist. Presence is important because definitely rate is being controlled, rate is being adjusted, and sometimes it is upon the based upon the patient condition, it could be stopped. It for its management, it's some other person is involved, which is definitely having a skill in that. So these are few disadvantages also associated with intravenous infusions. So we try to understand the pharmacokinetics of intravenous infusions through one compartment model, and pharmacokinetics of a drug given by constant intravenous infusions follows a zero order input process in which the drug is infused directly into the systemic blood circulation. The elimination output follows first order. So the point is that here the administration is a very okay. Students, you know about zero order and first order as we already discussed it, but here I shortly explain in order to understand it better. That zero order process is usually that when we use this term, we are referring to that pharmacokinetic process in which the rate of the process, whatever the process in question is, no matter it is you're talking about the absorption, distribution, metabolism, or elimination, but the rate of the process is independent of the drug or concentration or its amount. And in case of absorption, for example, it would be at the site of absorption. In case of distribution, it would be, or elimination, it would be at in the blood circulation. In case of metabolism too. So uh, the in case of zero order input, what happens that it simply means the rate of absorption is independent of the concentration or amount of drug. The reason is that intravenous infusion is actually using a tool to directly make the drug reach into the systemic circulation, and so it is very much in the hands of the administrator that at what rate and what quantity being administered to the patient. So that is totally independent of the concentration which is present in the systemic circulation even after the administration. So that is why the intravenous infusion follows zero order input as far as the input is concerned, but the output would be first order. And when we say the first order, it means that rate of the process, uh, here we are talking about the elimination, that would be following first order, means it would be dependent upon the concentration or amount of the drug. And as we know that the concentration amount of drug takes time to build up, so the rate process, this rate of elimination will also take time to build up. So initially the rate of input would be dominating, it would be sufficiently greater compared to the rate of output. And with time, it would be only that after building the concentration to a sufficient extent, the rate of elimination become equivalent to the rate of input, and then finally steady state level is achieved. Like students, you can see in this graph or curve that it is a time versus plasma drug concentration profile, and for intravenous infusion, of course. And here you can see that the drug's concentration is rising from zero concentration, and it is gradually increasing, and then what is happening at this time? Which is before this time. But first we discuss what is this state. So as I told that from zero the concentration is increasing gradually and it is continuously increasing until unless a certain state is reached where you see a horizontal, the curve adopts a horizontal state, and this state is called steady state level. Now at this state the rate of input is equal to rate of output, and there is a zero change in the amount of drug or per unit time. But before that, what is happening, that as we know that drug is being administered at a zero order rate, and with every passing time the concentration is increasing, because concentration is drug is being administered at a constant pace. While on the other hand, initially what will happen, that the elimination process will be slow. The rate of output, or the rate of elimination would be slow, and the reason is the same which I described before, that as the elimination process is following first order, so it will increase along with increase in the concentration of the drug. So when you see the highest levels, it is actually that time when the rate of elimination has actually become near to be equivalent to the rate of input. And finally, a steady state level is achieved when the rate of input is just equal to the rate of output, and the concentration is just capable to be maintained at a certain concentration, that is neither increasing nor decreasing. So this is a desirable state in certain situations at which a certain desirable concentration is attained and that is maintained. That is what you call steady state level. So steady state level. What is steady state level? Um, at steady state, the rate of drug leaving the body is equal to the rate of drug infusion rate entering the body. Therefore, at steady state, the rate of change in the plasma drug concentration, here it is. D means the change, C is the concentration, P shows the plasma. So the change in the plasma concentration per unit time is zero. So steady state would be the one when the rate of input it becomes equal to rate of output, as we were just discussing that initially when the drug is administered, it is at the zero level, and its level within the plasma or in the blood is zero, and with the time its level starts to build up, and slowly and gradually the rate of output becomes equivalent to a rate of input immediately before reaching the steady state. Now steady state would be the one that would be the stage when rate of input is equal to rate of output. So when both the rates becomes equal, then there is no question of change in the concentration, and basically the concentration of the drug would be at a very constant level, will be maintained as longer as you want, as longer as the concentration is maintained, try to be maintained at that level through the constant administration of drug through intravenous infusion. So rate of drug input infusion rate would be equal to rate of drug output elimination rate, and so you can understand that any change in the concentration is of the drug is only possible before the steady state level, and before that the change in the concentration is possible, but at the steady state level no change in the concentration would be happening, and as the intravenous infusion is stopped, the level also is dropped immediately. Levels start to get dropped immediately. Okay, but when we see the same situation, what happens that change in the amount of drug in the body at any time, um, D, D is again showing the change, D is actually the amount of drug per dt, that is the unit time during um, the infusion, is the rate of input minus the rate of output. So it is a steady state when both rates are equal, but before that these rates are not equal, and actually um, this change in concentration before the steady state level at any time point could be obtained easily by subtracting the rate of output from rate of input. Why rate of output is particularly being subtracted from rate of input? As I just discussed that before reaching the steady state and immediately before the steady state, actually only it is that the rate of elimination is becomes quite equivalent to rate of input. And before that, rate of input is actually dominant as compared to rate of output, because rate of output is following first order, and it is dependent upon the concentration or amount of the drug. So as the amount of the drug takes time to build up, so definitely the rate of output will take time to build up and to become equivalent to rate of input. So before the steady state, if at any time point we want to determine this thing, that the change in the amount of drug which is happening, so we would be using this equation, that the rate of output would be being subtracted from the rate of input.